guys, how are you going? It's Jess here, and today I come to you fairly fresh-faced without a drop of makeup. See? Absolutely nothing. Actually, you can probably see my little nose things. I love glasses except for the nose thingies. Anyway, that's totally off topic. I don't really know why I said that. Anyway, so today's video is basically all about different types of foundations that you can use for acne prone skin, oily prone skin, and also to help cover scarring. Taking my goggles off, and I may as well get started with the first one, which is basically powder foundations. So these can come in a few different ways, such as your pressed powder foundation, which often comes in a little clamshell like this one here. I've hit pan because I love this one. They also come in a loose powder foundation that's in like a little tub, like a container, which has quite high walls on it. You can also get mineral foundations, and mineral foundations often do come in a powder formulation with little dots on the top. If you can see that in there, where you pop the powder into the lid and then use a brush in the powder and buff it into your skin. And that's the next thing that I just want to have a quick chat about, is the different ways that you can apply powder foundations. So, whoa, let me just not drop it on the floor, that'd be awesome. So in terms of a pressed powder foundation with your clamshell, you have your powder in the top, and then they often come with a little sponge as well. Mine's an old sponge. Swirl it around in there and put it on your face in this sort of motion. So you're actually pressing it into your skin. You can also use a kabuki brush where you swirl it around in there and buff that into your face. You can also use a thicker powder puff, and this is really good with those loose powders like your mineral and just normal loose powder foundations. You pop it in there and really press this into the skin just like that. I'm just going to use my pressed powder foundation and a sponge. You can apply them throughout the day. They're really great for doing touch-ups on your skin, and they're excellent for oily skin types as well. Because of the powder, it actually helps to suck up and absorb some of that oil that your skin produces during the day. These don't tend to have a really full coverage. It's sort of a light to medium coverage, but they are buildable as well. One of the things you need to remember though is if you do have spots and active pimples and you need to conceal them, then you probably need to use a concealer underneath. Usually you'd use a concealer on top, but with a powder you should probably put it underneath. And just be then really careful when you're applying your powder, because if you're rubbing at your skin, if you're buffing, whoa, something just fell. If you're buffing into your skin, then you'll end up dislodging all that concealer that you've just very carefully applied. So just be really careful if you are using concealer, how you then go over it with the foundation. So that's really just this section of my face done with the powder and a bit down my neck as well. Another couple of points about powder foundation is that they're not generally too long lasting. You will need to do touch-ups during the day, and you should definitely wear some sort of a primer or a finishing spray under or on top. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that if you're anything like me, you probably do have some really fine hairs on the face, and it's a bit of an embarrassing thing to talk about, but them's the facts of life, kiddos. So to help with that situation, you can use a large fluffy brush and just basically dab at the face. I feel like I'm just spitting everywhere. But you can just dab at the face like that. Go along your hairline as well to remove any excess makeup from that area. You can also use a kabuki brush on your face and just dab away the excess like that, just in case. The next foundation that I want to talk about are BB creams, and these things, well, they are actually a liquid foundation themselves, but I've separated them from liquid foundation simply because these quite often have a lot more properties and a lot more features compared to a regular liquid foundation. In terms of application for BB creams, because it's a liquid, you can apply them pretty much the same way as any other liquid foundation. So you can use things like a stippling brush. You can also use a flat foundation brush. You can also use flat top buffer brushes like this one here, or kabuki brushes. You can also use your fingers, and to be honest, that is probably the most accepted way of applying it. Usually people just put a little bit on their fingers and then spread it into their face. That's really bad. I really can't pick my words today. How about I just show you what I'm trying to say? Use a little bit, and trust me, with BB creams, a little goes a very long way. I'm going to use this section of my face this time to illustrate what the BB cream looks like. Now, in terms of properties for BB creams, well, BB stands for Blemish Balm Cream, and the thing is that these quite often do contain different sorts of elements within them which will help with acne prone skin. Also, BB creams are well known to be that sort of all-in-one foundation, so you don't actually need to be applying any moisturizer or a primer or even concealer when you're using these sorts of foundations. Another good thing about BB creams is that they're excellent for not just experienced people within makeup, but also beginners as well, and they're often quite inexpensive. But of course there are a couple of downsides with BB creams, and that really relates to the fact that there's not too many colours that are available within certain ranges. It's getting better, but a lot of the colours that you get are fairly basic. It doesn't have much of a range. And just very quickly before I move on, in terms of oily skin types when you're using BB creams, yes, there are BB creams out there for acne and oily prone skin specifically, but you quite often still need to set these with a powder. So you can use a translucent powder or a loose or pressed powder foundation. Alrighty, here we go. Next one that I want to chat about, and it is, I'm just giving it a quick shake. I want to talk about liquid foundations, and these are extremely popular for acne prone skin types and also people who have scarring left on their faces. They do tend to have a medium to full coverage effect, which is fantastic for those sorts of things. And in terms of application, just like I was saying with the BB cream, really because they're both a liquid, you can use your flat top brushes, you can use your stippling brushes, you can use a flat foundation brush. Also, I wanted to mention that you can I'm saying also a lot during this video right here, I'm sorry about that. You can also, I did it again, you can use a sponge. And this is the thing, quite often, I'm trying to put this together because I've ripped it for a reason. Your triangular sponges, you know, you see big packs of these in your drugstores and chemists and things like that. You can use these and also beauty blenders to apply it on your face. But make sure that you do dampen them first and then squeeze out any excess moisture. Otherwise, with the liquids, your sponge will just suck up all of that liquid foundation and not really leave much to put on your face. So that's why you need to do that. So why have I ripped this? Well, I ripped it because to get a really lovely sort of flawless, almost airbrushed effect on your skin, if you rip your foundation sponge in half like that, this becomes sort of almost like a stippling brush on your skin. So when you're applying it, you just dab it on like that, very quickly, little dabbing spots like that, and it will give you a much nicer, smoother finish to your foundation, and that's why I like doing that. But am I going to do that today? No, I'm not actually going to do that today. I'm going to go in with my stippling brush. You can also use your fingers when you're applying liquid foundations, but sometimes you can get streaking. In fact, sometimes with flat foundation brushes you can get streaking as well. Moving on, this is how I like to apply it, and I'm only going to do a pretty small amount today. And sometimes a little goes a long way too with these sorts of things. In terms of coverage, like I said before, did I say this before? Anyway, I'm saying it now. They are a medium to full coverage. They are buildable. That's what I'm looking for. And in terms of using a concealer as well, you can use your concealer over the top of these really easily. Some other pro points about liquid foundation is that there's a huge range. Sorry about that, I'm hitting my mirror. There is a huge range of liquid foundations available in all brands pretty much now, which makes it really easy to get just the right colour for you. This particular one that I'm using by Revlon, it's their Revlon Colour Stay, and there's quite a few colours in this one as well, and I think this one is a little bit light for me. But usually I do wear, and this is another tip, you should be wearing a powder over the top of your liquid foundation to help set it and also reduce any shine that you get during the day pretty much. Try and keep that oil at bay, that's what it's all about. On that note as well, with foundations, they quite often have a lot of foundations that give you a dewy finish, and for people with acne and oily prone skin, that's not too good. We don't really want that because, well, our oil gives us that dewy look during the day anyway, and it's bloody annoying. So really try and look for one which does give you a matte finish or turns to a matte finish soon after application. What else do I want to say about this? Oh yeah, if you're using a liquid foundation, you try and pick one also that does have that longevity. So it is a long wear foundation. There's a lot of long wear foundations now on the market these days, so it's pretty easy to pick one up from both low and high end. The only thing that I would say is that with your long wear foundations, they do tend to stick. And if you ever use a Revlon Color Stay foundation, you'd know what I'm talking about. Once they're on, they are on. So what you'll have to do to try and remove this sort of foundation is definitely double cleanse and even use a deep cleansing treatment or a deep cleansing brush like the Clarisonic to help remove it. So I haven't set basically from this side of my face with any sort of powder yet. I've only got powder over here. You may have also noticed that I no longer have any room left on my face yet. I haven't talked about every type of foundation that's available, and that is because I don't have this last one available to me. The last one is cream-based foundations, and the reason I don't have this is because I'm on a bit of a budget and I just couldn't really... I couldn't really justify the expense of buying a cream foundation simply for a single video. So I'm really sorry, guys. But I do want to talk a little bit about it because I do have extensive experience with cream foundations from many years ago. So if you don't mind sticking around for just a little bit, I will get comfortable and tell you a little bit of a story, my acne history. And yeah, maybe this will really help you out as well. Probably about when I was 17 years old, so a very, very long time ago, I underwent a treatment for my acne and it severely backfired. Like, I have not had acne like this in my life ever, and I haven't had it again since that time. Thank God, because it almost went beyond acne. It was like I had weeping, bumpy, sore skin for weeks and weeks, and there was nothing that could be done about it. It was also really bad timing since it was my last year of high school and I took 2 weeks off school because I couldn't leave my room. I literally couldn't leave the house. I was too embarrassed. I hated myself and I cried every single day. It was horrendous. Anyway, why am I saying this to you? Because the same place that did this fabulous treatment to my skin also sold foundation, and they sold a cream-based foundation that they were so very proud to tell me that people who went on stage used this makeup. It's amazing, it will cover everything. Anyway, so I basically used this cream-based stage makeup for 3 years. I went through so much of this stuff and it was super expensive. So cream-based foundations, that's my story. Let's talk a little bit more about it in terms of what it is and what it does. So you can use your fingers for cream foundation, make sure they're clean. You can also use sponges, like your flat round foundation sponges. You can also use triangular sponges with it as well. You can use brushes, but it's not really generally used. To see the sponge or fingertips. In terms of coverage, it has medium to full coverage, and it really is something that can give that full foundation effect. So you need to be careful of cake face when you're using it. So it's great if you've got a lot of redness and you've got a lot of scarring that you want to try and cover up. Cream foundations can definitely do that for you. A few little negatives about it though, and maybe you've picked this up, is that they come in just a little tiny container, or they come in a clamshell container like this pressed powder. But they're very expensive. Like, the amount of product that you get for your money is minimal. But a good thing about cream foundations is that they are easy to apply. They are also easy to move around the face and blend into the skin. So you're not too, like sometimes with liquid foundations, these can set super duper quickly. You have to be very quick when you're using them. But with a cream-based foundation, you have a bit more time to spare. You've got a bit more time there, so you can do what you need to do in order to get a flawless finish.